Hi everyone, Victor here again, and in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at how to create and manage users and groups in OpenShift container platform. When the OpenShift container platform is installed, by default, two users are installed alongside, and they are the Cube admin virtual user and the developer user. However, the Cube admin user only have the cluster admin privilege. So this basically means that only these users can access the cluster, and if you want other users to be able to access the cluster, you would need to create them. And depending on whatever you want them to be able to do, for example, administer the entire cluster, create projects only, view ports only, edit cluster, etc., you would need to assign roles or permissions to these users. And to simplify administration sometimes, you may even need to create groups and add these users to the groups so that these users can be managed by groups depending on the policy or roles assigned to the group. And of course, role is a set of permission assigned to users or groups to be able to perform certain API operations. We will talk more about permissions and roles as we go on in this course, but for now, let's focus on authenticating into the OpenShift cluster and on how this is done. So authentication in OpenShift is taken care of by the authentication operator. We already discussed what operators are in one of our previous lessons. So the authentication operator runs an OAuth server, and the OAuth server is where developers and administrators obtain OAuth access tokens to authenticate themselves to the API. And the OpenShift OAuth server can be configured to use identity providers such as the HT password, LDAP, which is very common, the GitHub, the OpenID Connect, Keystones, GitLab, Google, and etc. So in this lesson, we're going to be looking at how to configure and authenticate into the OpenShift cluster by using the HT password identity providers. So to create users that will be able to authenticate into the cluster, first of all, we ourselves need to log in into the cluster as the cluster admin. And like I've said that by default, the Cube admin user, which has the cluster admin privilege, is created when OpenShift is installed. So we can log in as this user so that we can be able to create other users. And you should also know that a random password is always automatically generated for this Cube admin user, in which we've already seen during our OpenShift installation lessons. And more so, the secret of this user has hashed password, and it is stored rather in the Cube system namespace. So let's see how to create users and authenticate by using the HT password identity provider. The first thing we're going to do is to create the HT password file. This is just a normal flat file, just like the one you normally create for Apache users. And to create the flat file, you can just use HT password. If you do this, you will see the different flags for the HT password tool. And of course, for you to be able to have these two rather on your system, you just install the HTTP D tool. You're going to have this tool on your system. So to continue, what we're going to be the flags that we're going to be using are this flag, which is to create a new file, and we're also going to use this, which is to use the password from the command line rather than prompting for it. And we're also going to use this, which is very secure because it's going to force bcrypt encryption of the password. So To create the HTTP password file, we can use the command htpassword. This is going to be create B, that's first secret encryption, and this is another one B, which is use the password from the command line, which I'm going to be writing, and I'm going to put this file in the path /tmp /ht password. So the name of the user is going to be technid, and I'm just going to use a normal random password or a normal simple password, which is password. So you can see that the name and the password has been added to this file. If I do cat /tmp /ht password, you can see that I have the name, which is technid, and I have the password, which has been encrypted. So I'm going to add another user. I'm going to call this user technid2, and I'm also going to use the same simple password, which is password. And if I do cut here, you can see that, all right, it has overwritten the first file. So to add another user, you don't have to use this create option any longer. So I'm just going to remove these, and this is going to be technid. So if I cut this file, so you can see now that I have the two users here, technid2 and technid, and these are their passwords. So I need to make sure that I am logged in as the cluster admin to be able to perform this operation. So now that I am logged in, I am going to create a secret to store the HT password file. And to do that, I'm just going to use the command osecret secret. This is going to be generic HT password secret. So I'm going to call the name of the secret HT password secret, and from file HT password equals, so this is what I'm going to be having in the file, HT password equals /tmp /ht password, and this is going to be in the namespace OpenShift config. So you can see that this secret HT password secret has been created, and this is what is going to be referencing in this namespace. All right, like I mentioned that the authentication operator is responsible for authenticating into the cluster via the OAuth server. So now what we need to do is to update the authentication operator. And to do that, we need to export the current OpenShift OAuth resource or configuration in YAML format to a file. So I'm just going to say OC get OAuth cluster YAML. This is going to be in a YAML, and I'm going to output it to this file, which is OAuth.yaml. So now that I've been able to do this, I need to edit the OAuth resource file to add the identity provider as a parameter in the spec section. Just going to clear my screen, and if I do vi OAuth.yaml, so if I scroll down to the spec section, so you can see that here we have the API version to be this, and we have the kind to be OAuth. And if we scroll down to the spec section, you can see that under the spec section we already have identity providers information, where we have the HT password file data here, and the name of this file data, the name is the secret name, which is HT pass secret, the mapping method is claim, and this is the name you want to give to the identity provider, which is developer, and the type is HT password, and these are other parameters, which is templates and the likes. So we want to add another identity provider information, which is still HT password. So I'm just going to copy the parameters from here, right? And I'm going to say insert. Let's copy this again. And I'm going to just paste it here, exactly here, so that we can have our parameter, which is HT password, the file data, and the name here is going to be the name of the secret, HT, which is HT password secret, and the mapping method is also claim, and I can give this identity provider a name, so I can just call this cluster users, and the type is HT password. So if I wish, I can remove the template information, but I'm just going to leave it here, and then I can save this file. So then I need to update the auth resource. So to do that, I'm going to use the oc replace command. So I'm going to say oc replace file oauth.yaml. Okay, so we have an error in line 28, did not find expected key. So let's see again on line 28. Let's see, well, I didn't name these lines like the way I've been doing, but let's look for line 28 here. Okay, so this is where the error is coming from. This is supposed to be, of course, list of items. So we need to remove this. This is list of items. So we can now save this file. So if I run this command, so you can now see that the OAuth file has been replaced. So what I'm going to do is, let me just quickly see if this is still running. I can say ocget ports and OpenShift authentication. So we can see that the former pod is terminating while this is still about to run. So sometimes it can take time for the authentication operator pod to start running. So we're going to see this again. Let's see if if it has started running. So you can see now that it has started running. So I can now try to log in as the Technic user. So I can do OC login user, which is Technic, and password, which is password. So it's trying to log us in. So you can now see that we've been able to successfully log in. And you can also see that it's saying that we don't have any project. You can try to create a project by running OC new project. And we will not have access to any project because this user is not a cluster admin user until we add this user as a cluster admin. That is when it can be able to see some other cluster information. If I do OC get pods, you would see that it's saying error forbidden, which is this user cannot list resources, pods. It cannot even list service. This user cannot list nodes because it does not have the permission to do that. So what I'm going to do now is to log out, or rather to log in as the cluster admin user, so that I can add or make Technic user a cluster admin too. And I can only do that if I am a cluster admin user. So I need to log in as the cluster admin user. And to be able to know which user you are, you can just do OC who am I. So this will tell you that you are the user tech lead. So I'm going to log in as the keep admin user, which is the cluster admin user, and I'm going to give technique user the cluster admin privilege. And to do that, we're going to look at how to do this fully in the next lesson. But for this lesson, you should just know that for you to be able to give a user a cluster admin privilege, you can do OC ADM policy, add cluster role to user. What cluster role? Well, adding the cluster role cluster admin to the user technique. So you can now see that this role has been added to the user technique. So if I try to log in back as the user technique, let's do that. So you can see now that it's saying that I have access to 64 projects, and if I do OC get pods, you can see that I can be able to list pods, OC get service. I can be able to list the services and OC get nodes. I can be able to do that, and that's because I am the cluster admin. I have the cluster admin privilege. That is, this technique user has the cluster admin privilege. Also do OC get users. You can see the user keep admin and technique. If I say OC get identity, you can see the identity. Have C users which we gave to the HT password in the spec parameter. You can see C users, you can see the username technique, and we can see the user ID here as well. This is for the one that was already in the system. You can see that when we even open the OAuth.yaml file. So now that I've been able to do this, what we're going to do next is to add more users to the cluster. We've been able to add two users, which are the technique and technique two user. Let's try and log in as technique two user as well. So I can just say OC login technique two. So you can see that we've been able to log in as the technique two user, and we don't have access to any project because this user is not yet a cluster admin user, right? And we couldn't see that here when we did OC get users because we've not logged in initially. But now if I log in, you know, just to log in as any admin user, let's log in as technique user, and if I do, still trying to log us in. So if I do OC get users, I should be able to see the technique to user. So it is when you log in, if you've not logged in initially, you won't be able to see the user. But when you log in, then you'll be able to see the users that are on the system. I mean when you log in for the first time. So to create another user, we need to extract the HT password file from the secret. You remember that we created a secret for this file, so we need to extract this file. And to do that, we can use the command OC extract secret. The secret is HT password secret. In the namespace, OpenShift config to the file /tmp slash tmp here. So we can say confirm. So you can see that this file has been extracted and we have it as tmp password. So if I say cat /tmp/password, sorry, ht password. So you can see that we have the file here. If you want to confirm that, you might delete the former file you have. You don't have to, but if you delete it and you extract, of course, you're going to have this file back again. But the most important thing is that you need to extract the file, and then you can add the new user to the ht password file. So I can do ht password, then b/tmp/ht password. I'm going to add another user called technique3 with the username, or with the password rather. I will use the same password, which is password. And if I do cat tmp ht password, so you can see that we have the third user, which is technique3 user. And now we need to update the secret for the ht password file with the ocset command. So to do that, I'm just going to say ocset data secret ht password secret from file, just as we did in the first time. Ht password equals /tmp/ht password. In the namespace, OpenShift config. So you can see that the secret has been updated. So now let's log in as the technique3 user. So I can say also login user technique3 password. It's trying to log us in. So you can now see that we have another user, which is a technique3 user with no cluster admin privileges. So now let's look at how to update a user's account. All we're going to do is to change technique2 user's password. And before we do that, like I said, you need to always do all of this as the cluster admin. So I'm just going to log in as the cluster admin. So I can use, we have two cluster admins, we have this, and we have the technique user. So I can log in as this user as well. And for me to do that, we also need to extract the ht password file from the secret, just like we did. And if I want to do that, I can say oc extract. What's the command again? So we're going to do this to extract, and then we can change the technique2 user's password. So I can just say ht password -b/tmp/ht password. Then I can say technique2 user. I can give it the password of password 1234. So this has been updated, and if I do /tmp /tmp/ht password, this has also been encrypted, so you can't see what it is, but it's been updated, right? So after this, we also need to update the secret, and to do that, we can just do what we did the other time, which is oc set data secret, right? And this command is going to update the secret. So if I wish, I can just say oc get port in the namespace OpenShift authentication. All right, we have the authentication pod state running, and now we can try to log in as the technique2 user. So you can just say oc login user technique2, and the password is going to be password password 1234. Oops. My cluster has started again. So let's try this again. Oh, my cluster is unstable. crc status. So let's try again. So I'm just going to wait a bit till this cluster becomes stable. So I'm going to try again. So you can see that we've been able to log in as the Technic 2 user. And what we're going to do next is to delete a user account. And to do that, of course, like I said, we need to do that as a cluster admin. So I can say OC login technique password. So as usual, we need to extract the file from the secret again. So we're going to just do this again. So we need to delete the user, and to do that I can just say ht password delete from tmp ht password. I'm going to be deleting tech need 3 user. So if I do cat /tmp /ht password, you can see that we don't have technique 3 user here anymore. And the next thing we need to do, of course, is to update the secret. And to do that, we can just say OC set data secret. So this is going to update the secret. And we also need to delete the identity for Technique 3 user. So I can say OC delete identity cluster users for Technique 3. Before I do this, let me show you the identity again so you can really understand what I mean. OC get identity. So you can see the identity. You can see we have Technique, Technique 2, Technique 3, and of course Cube admin. So when you delete a user, you need to delete the identity. It's always a one-to-one mapping. So you need to delete the identity for that user as well. So I'm just going to say OC delete identity cluster users Technique 3. This will delete the identity of this user. Now we can say OC get users to see if the user has been deleted. We still have the Technique 3 user. If I say OC get identity, the identity has been deleted, so we need to still delete the user as well. So I can say OC delete user Technique 3. So if I say OC get users, so this has been deleted. So if I try to log in now as Technique 3 user, I can say user Technique 3 password. So you can see that it's saying login failed. We should verify that we have correct credentials. So this user Technique 3 user has been deleted. And before I round off for this lesson, you should know that Red Hat recommends that the Cube admin user should be deleted after installation. However, you must have created another user and assign the cluster admin role to that user before deleting the Cube admin user. Else, you won't have any cluster admin user, and you might not and you might have to reprovision your cluster again because there won't be any cluster admin user to log in any longer. So you need to be very and extremely careful before doing this. You make sure you assign a cluster admin role to a user before deleting the cube admin user. This lesson is more than long enough, so I just want to say thank you for watching and please subscribe, share, comment, like. When you do this, it would encourage us to do more. I'll see you in the next lesson and bye for now.